which are used daily by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in solving crimes and protecting the safety of our nation and our homes.
Okay, Tommy, this is it. At least one part of it. The FBI laboratory.
Someplace, all right. Say, what's that fellow over there doing?
Him? Well, he's running a blood analysis, Tommy.
What for?
I'm going to hear that 100 times this afternoon, so suppose we do this. Let's reconstruct an imaginary crime. Then as we go through the various laboratories, try to work out the solution from what we see. Now, what sort of a story would you like to hear?
Well, my daddy says that now, with the war on and all, any criminal here at home is an enemy of our country.
Your dad's right, Tommy.
Maybe we ought to trap a couple of murderers.
Oh, I knew we'd have to have at least one killing to satisfy you. All right, then, let's start with this blood analysis.
What's blood analysis have to do with solving crime?
Suppose we're trying to trap a ring of big-time criminals. They're stealing cattle, shipping it east, and selling it undercover. They're nationwide operators, Tommy. And since the FBI has ruined bank robbing and kidnapping, they've been forced to try new angles.
Jeepers. Some outfit, huh?
And quite an outfit. And let's suppose that the whole thing started somewhere in Texas. The sheriff has been out to one of the largest ranches in his town.
Howdy, men.
Oh, Sheriff.
Hasn't been moved?
No, nothing yet.
Hasn't been moved at all.
He's drilled right between the eyes.
Yep, old man didn't have a chance. Somebody plugged him just as he opened the door.
Any idea who might have done it?
Slim Saunders was around this way a couple of days ago.
Saunders. I thought he was in prison.
Was, but he's out now.
Bullet went clean through the old man Tuttle, huh? Must be around here somewhere. Let's see. Shot was fired out front here. Should have plowed in the back wall. Yeah, here she is. Get it out. There. Yeah, a steel jacket from a 25-35. I think I'll look up Slim and see what kind of gun he's toting. Hi, Slim, hold up.
Oh, boy. Oh. Well, howdy, Sheriff. What brings you up this way?
A murderer?
Well, that's so. Who?
You, Slim.
Sure enough. Well, who'd I kill?
Old man Tuttle.
Now, Sheriff, why'd I want to kill Tuttle?
Well, you and him had words, didn't you?
Well, sure, we had words. I have words with lots of people, but I don't kill them.
And you're a pretty good shot, ain't you?
Well, I guess I'm about as good as the next man with a rifle.
You always use a Winchester 25-35?
For about 3 years now, I ain't used nothing else.
Hey, how about that blood on your Levi's?
It's from a wildcat I killed about a week ago. Hey, Sheriff, did you hear that shot?
Yeah.
Now, that's a 25-35, or I'll eat it.
Let's go have a look.
Here, boy. Help you. There he is, Sheriff. It's Cactus Dawson, wrangler for old man Tuttle.
Yeah. Hey there, Cactus. Hold up there.
Howdy, Sheriff. What's up?
Yeah. Let's see a rifle, Cactus.
Oh, sure.
25-35, huh?
Yeah.
I'm taking you in, Cactus. Maybe you can tell us something about the murder of old man Tuttle.
Old man murdered?
That's right.
Now, well, who'd want to do a thing like that?
Slim, Cactus tells a pretty convincing story, while your yarn's pretty weak. Now, there was a trail of blood where old man Tuttle was dragged across the porch, and there was blood on your Levi's.
I told you a dozen times, Sheriff. It was from a wildcat I killed about a week ago.
It's funny you didn't have no hide in your pack.
I killed him because he was stalking a yearling of mine and knocked the skin, and that's the truth, Sheriff.
Well, the FBI will settle the whole thing. Ought to be hearing sometime today.
What's the FBI got to do with it?
I sent your Levi's to him along with yours and Cactus rifles. Several cartridges.
So you see, Tommy, that brings us right back to that piece of cloth you were asking about. The chemist was able to tell us in a minute that the blood on Slim's Levi's was not human, but wildcat.
Maybe so, but he could have killed old man Tuttle.
That's right. So we had to go a little further and find out which gun fired the shot.
How could you do that?
Look at this gadget right over here.
That microscope?
Not an ordinary one. It's what we call a comparison microscope.
What's it do?
Here. I put a bullet in this side and another bullet in the other side. Now look.
Uh-huh. I see him.
Now, I turn this gadget right here. And what happens?
Now there's only one bullet.
That's where you're wrong, Tommy. It looks like one bullet. Actually, you're seeing half of both bullets.
But both halves look the same.
Now you're getting it. Those bullets were fired from the same gun. Only bullets fired from the same gun will match exactly.
So that's how you knew whose gun did the killing.
That's how. Of course, as soon as we knew, we wired the sheriff what we had learned.
All right, men. Here's that telegram from the FBI. Now let's see what's what. Stain on pants. Murder bullet fired from... Well, I guess that settles it. There was wildcat blood. The murder gun belongs to Cactus.
What's that?
All right, Cactus.
You can't prove nothing.
I don't have to. The FBI has already done it. Start talking.
It was self-defense, Sheriff, so help me it was.
Talk.
About 3 days ago, a couple of city fellas offered me $200 if I'd sort of keep an eye on the old man that night, just to make sure he kept to the ranch house. If the old man stirred, I was to give a coyote howl as a signal. I was sitting in the saddle about 50 yards in front of the ranch house. Wasn't no moon out. Turn that horse.
Who's out there? Speak up. I got a mighty itchy trigger finger.
The old man was a dead shot. I knowed I'd have to beat him to the draw.
Mighty cheap killing a man for $200, Cactus.
I didn't aim to kill him, Sheriff.
Pretty good aiming, just the same. You drilled Tuttle right between the eyes. I suppose them city waters was rustling the old man's cattle.
I guess so, Sheriff.
You know darn well they was. I got no more use for a murderer than I have for rustlers. After I lock you up, Cactus, I guess I better have a look.
Not much to go on, Sheriff.
I don't know about that, Slim. You see, I've been right smart interested in this here FBI. For instance, the FBI man would take a close look at them tire tracks. Now, what kind of tracks would you say there was?
Wouldn't say. Now, if it was a cattle brand, I could spot it in a minute.
They was using a big truck, 10-wheel job. You can load quite a few yearlings in one of them. Back right through a fence post, too. You can see where the paint scraped off.
What you doing now?
Picking up a few pieces of glass.
Wonder where that came from.
I wouldn't be at all surprised what it comes from a busted taillight. Let's go back to town.
But why would the sheriff bother with picking up a few little pieces of glass?
Those were mighty important pieces, Tommy. You see this display over here?
Holy cow. Look at the headlight lenses.
A sample from every car made, Tommy. You see, we fit pieces of broken lenses together and compare them with these. When we match them up, we know the year and model of the car we're after. Now, let's assume that the sheriff sent us those taillight pieces, and we found out that they belonged to a red 10-ton International.
You even know the color? Oh, sure. The paint that scraped off on the fence post.
You see how it all fits together? Besides, the sheriff had another clue, the kind of tires that truck carried. Now, as a general rule, the FBI would have stopped there, but since this case we're imagining looked like rustling, we would have figured that the rustlers were stealing the beef for transport to eastern states. So, chances are, a few days later, the sheriff would have had a visit.
Sheriff Crockett?
Yep.
Davidson, FBI.
Oh, howdy, young fella. You find that truck yet?
Yes, we did. We have a pretty good idea who made off with old man Tuttle's cattle.
Sure enough. How'd you figure that?
Well, this job was planned by a well-organized mob run by Frank O'Connell. Used to be a bootlegger in the old days. Now he's operating in stolen beef, counterfeit, and stolen ration books and bootleg alcohol.
What made you so sure this O'Connell was in on this rustling business?
Well, the truck was driven by one of O'Connell's triggermen, Limpy Smith. He and another of O'Connell's rowdies drove the truck.
How'd you know?
Their fingerprints were plastered all over the cab of the truck.
Jeepers, you mean you could have found the truck that quick?
Sure, Tommy. It wouldn't have been much of a job. We knew we were looking for a 1939 red 10-ton International, and we knew exactly what kind of tires it had. There could have been only one truck that fitted our description perfectly.
But how did you find the guys that drove the truck?
Tommy, I'm afraid you're not listening very closely.
Oh, I know. You said their fingerprints were plastered all over the cab. But how could you tell whose prints they were?
We would have just checked them against our fingerprint file here at FBI headquarters until we found the ones that matched.
Is the file very big?
I guess there must be about 91 million sets of prints on file.
91 million? Holy cow. And you have to go through all of them?
It's really not such a job, Tommy. Ever seen an old-fashioned player piano?
Oh, sure. Grandma has one. I play it all the time.
You know how the rolls are punched?
Uh-huh. Sort of like a conductor punches a train ticket, only more holes.
Well, fingerprint information is punched on a card, something like that. Then we run them through this machine.
How does this thing work?
See all those little steel fingers?
Uh-huh.
Now watch.
Hey, they move.
That's right. I'm setting them to select cards punched one certain way. Now I turn it on. Now, see? See how those little steel fingers sort of feel each other?
How about that? It throws the card into this little slot.
That's right. Those steel fingers haven't found any holes that match the way they're set. There, see that?
They caught. The little steel finger caught right in those holes.
Now watch.
Hey, that card went into a different slot.
Right. That may be the very card we're looking for. Now we'll turn it off. Yes, Tommy, this machine right here has sent thousands of criminals up for life just by selecting a fingerprint card that same way. Every once in a while, those hoodlums probably look at their fingers and say, if you hadn't snitched on me, I wouldn't be here.
So that's how you found out who drove the rustler's truck.
That's how we would have done it.
What happened to the cattle?
Well, we'll assume that it was shipped east. Of course, a couple of FBI men would have followed it because we'd have known that sooner or later we'd catch the big shot.
Yeah, the big shot. You said this was going to be a big case.
Uh-huh, but of course we wouldn't want to lose track of the guys who drove the truck, would we?
Heck no. What you reckon they would have done after that?
Let's suppose they met up with two other characters who had also been mixed up in the liquor racket back in Prohibition days.
But what would they be up to?
We wouldn't know at first. We'd just have to wait. But maybe this time local police officials would stumble onto something that would give us a clue.
All right, Doc. What's the story?
This man is employed as night watchman at the Morris Building.
Morris Building, night watchman.
That's the building. Anyway, this man was shot while stepping in his car after work.
Where was his car parked?
In an alley reserved for parking spaces and building employees and tenants.
You got the slug?
Just removed it from the man's leg.
Nickel jacketed 22. You say the man was struck in the inner part of his thigh?
That's right. Bullet took a sharp downward course.
Well, then the shot was fired from above.
Is this the kind of gun you have in mind, Captain?
Yes, Mr. D.A. It was just such a gun that fired the bullet. I'll have a comparison shot made with this.
Well, you can save yourself the trouble, Captain. That could not possibly be the gun.
Oh, why not?
Because that gun belongs to the wounded man. We found it locked in the glove compartment of his car. Well, old man, looks like we've solved our case.
You mean you caught the man who shot me?
I think so. But the defense is working up a pretty strong case. They're going to intimate that you might have carried a gun for your own protection.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You know the company forbids me to carry a gun.
And I'd say you could have carried a gun inside your shirt and held it in place with your belt.
But, proof, man. They can't prove a thing like that.
Well, suppose you had carried a gun that way, and suppose in stepping into your car, the trigger had caught in your clothing and was pulled. The bullet would have plowed down your leg.
You mean they're going to try to prove I shot myself? Well, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
Ridiculous or not, it could have happened if the gun had a long barrel like this one.
That would, mister? Never. That gun belongs to me.
I know. But fear of an investigation as to why you were carrying a concealed weapon might have kept you from the circumstances of the shooting.
It, might have, yes, but, who'd believe a crazy story like that?
Oh, most any jury. You see, a ballistics expert has proved that this is the guilty gun.
So you see, Tommy, again we turned to the comparison microscope, and again the microscope found the guilty man.
But why would this